Hey, welcome back to the garage. Appreciate you stopping by. I think today we're going to discuss this 1989 Chevy Camaro project that I started almost 13 years ago. As you can tell from the last video, some things might have changed since I started doing this project, but let's go back, let's see where we started with this and get you caught up to where we are today. Before we go back, let's tell you a little bit about the car. It's a 1989 Chevy Camaro Rally Sport convertible. This has the 305 engine option, automatic trans. These are not the wheels that come on it. These are just my rollers off a Trans Am project I had at one time. But there was only two options in 1989 for trim levels, the Rally Sport and the IROC. The Rally Sport was kind of like your base model, but now it came with the ground effects package, almost like the Z28s did from earlier years. These cars you could get in V6, V8, hardtop, T-top, or convertible like this one is. The IROCs, we all know about the IROCs. You get it hardtop, T-top, convertible as well. Had the 5.7 IROC package. But this one is the Rally Sport, and this is the kind of the entry-level version, but with a V8 and a drop top. This one I acquired, and I planned on just fixing some damage that it had and doing a real quick detail, but once I got under it, I saw it did have some oil leaking from the rear main seal and some other things that it needed, and it ended up being an all-out full restoration. Right now, we're kind of in the middle of working on the interior. We'll get you up to date, like I said, but right now we're working on speaker install and getting this interior finished. Exterior-wise, I think we all know there's some convertible specific parts that are really hard to come by. We'll get to that. I did go ahead and leave pretty much everything completely stock. I didn't go crazy with any engine mods or anything like that, so it still retains its original. Oh, look at that. Hood shocks at work on a third gen. It still retains all of its original engine and just rebuilt internals. And one of the main reasons I wanted to leave it all original was because a lot of these cars, especially these third gens, they get modded and they get engine transplanted, and nothing's original. It's hard to find a true original car nowadays that just looks nice and go cruising in. So I wanted to keep that aesthetic. There are plenty of other cars out there we can customize and mod, but this one was all original to begin with, so I wanted to leave it that way. So on that note, let's get you back in time a little bit and show you what this car looked like when I acquired it and everything that was wrong with it and how we got to this point today. So here we are in 2010, and I acquired this vehicle from a friend of mine who couldn't keep it. So I said, I'll fix it up. I'll take care of it. And as you can see, it's in pretty rough shape. Right away, you can see the front end is damaged, the hood is damaged. It was a stolen vehicle, we assume, for the stereo system that was in it. And the story is from the previous owner that the cop spotted the car and the guy bailed and the car rolled into a telephone pole. But we don't know the whole story, so we'll go with that. The wheels on it were pretty hideous. It's jacked up in the back. It's in pretty rough shape. So I decided let's turn it back to stock. As you can see, the interior was pretty worn. Cigarette hole burns in the seats and no mats, so the carpets were extremely dirty. The engine bay was dirty and just tired. It needed a nice refresh. Everything did work except for the air conditioning. But it was just looking its time. Here you can see the top. There's the cut mark where they cut open the top and broke into the car to steal it. So it'll need a whole new top. And I decided we'll get started on it. And I got under the car and I noticed the rear main seal was leaking pretty bad. And you kind of have to pull the motor up to get to it and drop the oil pan and blah, blah, blah. So I decided just to pull the whole entire motor out. And what this picture shows, I took off the wrecked front end, the hood, and we're getting the car prepped for engine removal. Here's the actually whole assembly out. I pulled the transmission with it and everything. I decided, let's just go through it. We'll redo all the gaskets. We'll paint it. It'll look nice when we're done. There's the engine bay, just empty. Not too bad. Not a lot of rust. I was surprised. The car came out of Ohio. So it's pretty clean. It's a pretty clean car. And here's the engine here, getting totally rebuilt. I took everything apart. It is just the 305. I wanted to keep it as factory as possible because it was a convertible. That's my thought process is, just if it's already all together and original, we'll just keep it original. And some more pictures of engine rebuild in the car. Just waiting to get rebuilt itself. And once you start an engine rebuild, hey, it needs new suspension, it needs this, it needs that, and next thing you know, the whole front end's out of the car. And so that's what's going on here. And well, if you're doing the front, you might as well do the rear too. So the whole rear end came out. And here's everything laying on the floor. Got the rear end rebuilt, new grease, just gone through, repainted. And here's the new lowering springs and all the rear end parts and poly bushings and the whole thing. Put that up in there. New brake lines. Everything's been put in. Looks in pretty good shape. And the interior needed a new steering column since it was stolen. The center console was busted, so we removed that. So in 1989, they went with the VAT system, but no airbag. 88 was no airbag, no VAT. And in 90 was VAT with an airbag. So I had to find a 1989 specific steering column and steering wheel. I actually found one out of an 89 Firebird formula that works. So that was good to find. Here's the engine going back together, starting to get painted. Just painting the spots that are easy to get to. Nice, complete, painted, fully put together. Everything is new. Everything, the rings, the bearings, the everything's new. Everything's new. Basically a brand new engine. The transmission I went through, obviously oil replaced, gaskets, the filter, and then I went ahead and repainted that as well to make it look good since it was out. Here's the assembly all put back together, painted, and on the subframe, or the front K-member is what we call them. And I know what you're going to say. Why didn't you paint the manifolds? Boy, those stick out like sore thumbs. I don't know why I didn't, and I regret not doing it. But you can't really see them in the car. So I'm not too worried about it. And here it is going back in the car. And I actually put it back in the car from underneath. It was much easier. And this is how their third gens were actually, all that whole engine and transmission was put together at the factory. It went in from underneath the car. And let me tell you, it was a lot easier if you have everything out, putting it in from the bottom. And I have a chain fall there that I just connected the body and lifted it up and put it in. And here it is with the body back down, and the engine was almost in at this point. Just needed to tighten up 6 bolts and it was in. And the front suspension went back together. All new bushings, all new parts, all new bearings, all new everything. Basically the car mechanically is brand new. Here's another shot of the front suspension with everything done and painted. And here it is sitting on the ground finally after a while. It is sitting on Firebird wheels, but those wheels are damaged. So they're just kind of my roller wheels. Here it is, another angle. Oh, just finally sitting back on the ground after so long. The odometer was at 99,997 when I bought it. It's kind of ironic because since the car is mechanically brand new, the suspension's all brand new. I did drive it around up and down the street, you know, kind of shake things down and make sure everything was good. And like I said, ironically, it turned all zeros. So the car does have 100,000, but it is almost like brand new at this point, all zeros again. Now it was time to get the bumper mounts straight. So I loaded her up on the trailer, brought it to a frame shop, and they actually straightened out those two mounting horns. I call them horns, where the bumper mounts to the frame, you know, those two spots right there. So those were straightened out fairly easy, which was nice. And here's just another shot of the car before the hood got painted. I brought the car in, like I said, to have those two horns straightened, and those guys also painted the hood. They also painted the front bumper and the lower front spoiler for me as well. So then we brought the car back home and continued to work on it. Crap.